All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets here for Flex Friday on PrizePicks. Also touching on some profit boost bets that you can make on Underdog as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. But first, let's go ahead and get into a quick recap from yesterday, guys. Yesterday was a pretty awesome day again for a single game NFL slate. So we'll start with what was tilting yesterday. We had a middling opportunity for Rico Dowdle where the prop line was off for him between PrizePicks and Underdog by 3. It actually came down to the last run where Rico jumps to the outside, or it's an outside play. I was actually worried that the over wouldn't hit right when the play started taking place because there was defensive penetration in the backfield. Rico sneaks through the line of scrimmage and ends up getting the 3 more yards to make the under not hit on Underdog. It's up until that run we were hitting a middle for that, but still obviously a good day. That meant we went 5 for 5 on our PrizePicks bet of the day. On top of that, the 2 recommended traditional prop bets that I mentioned to you guys, Rico Dowdle for over 15.5 receiving yards, and also Wendell Robinson for over 4.5 receptions also hit as well. So that puts us at a units profit of 19 on the NFL season. And one thing that I think is just noteworthy in general, guys, is just how frequently the top prop bet on the 9-to-5 NFL cheat sheet has hit. Like it's been like 14 out of the past 18 slates, the top prop bet has hit. And so this one that's a push, I don't know if I exactly would agree that that's the top prop bet. But, not terrible. I kind of would say the Marcel Azunia would be one where we'd be favoring the over there. So just looking at the PrizePicks board that we have today, it is going to be a decent board. Let's go through and kind of break down the sports that we have. We'll start out with MLB here. And so looking at the MLB board that we have today, we have one hits run RBIs prop. I don't know what's going on with the projections there. Kind of ignore that. That doesn't affect the edge that we're getting here. But that's seemingly going to be a good bet for us. Will Smith for under 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs. That one has a 56% chance to hit. Again, most likely by the time when most of you guys are getting in here to watch this video, that one's going to be bumped. So, I typically don't like to spend too much time on those. So Marcel Azunia is going to be one of those better bets that we can see. Projected to get right around his average hit. So we like that there. Average projection about 9.85. PrizePicks line at 7.5. Just through and through going to be a good bet for us to target today. Another one, Xavier Edwards for over his hitting fantasy score. Those are the 2 really good hitting fantasy score prop bets that we have on today's board. So I feel pretty good about using those 2 in a bet of the day. Obviously, if Will Smith is still there, we feel fine using that one as well. I don't want to use Carlos Correa again, but man, he's went 3 for 3 for me over the past 3 times that I've used him. And part of the Carlos Correa appeal, I guess, would be if you guys watched Wednesday night's video, I mentioned we had a stacking opportunity with Trey Turner and Bryce Harper, but we also could just run out a stack with Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa as well to pair them with Trey Turner. Just basically, we didn't want to do both stacks because the payout would be significantly reduced. So hopefully you guys use that. I don't know. I don't want to push my luck too much there with Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton again, but that's not a terrible stacking opportunity there for them as well. I did want to call that out to you guys. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on into some WNBA. A little bit of like an EV bet situation with Alyssa Thomas for over 9.5 assists, and then also Bridget Carlton for over 3.5 rebounds. These are all decent bets. If you guys are trying to extend a bet slip from, let's say 4 bets to 5 bets to make it a flex, or 5 bets to 6, a 5 slip bet to a 6 slip bet, I'm fine using these in that regard. That's actually how we ended up on Sophie Cunningham on that slip I just showed you guys, because I wanted to make a 4 slip bet, a 5 slip bet. That way, obviously, if one bet misses, like Bryce Harper, we'd still potentially cash out a double up. And so that's how I'd go about using these bets here. Let's go ahead and jump on into NFL. A little bit of an edge there. Nico Collins for under 0.5 rush and receiving touchdowns. This is one of the better bets that we have on the board. From there, we have no other bets are going to be over a 54% edge as it sits right now. This is pretty consistent with how PrizePicks has been doing it. They really are concentrated on not giving us some significant edges here to the point where we're chasing a lot of fantasy scores most of the time. So I will be doing a deep dive video for the NFL Sunday slate. Be on the lookout for that. It'll either be releasing today or potentially on Saturday as well. And then we jump on into college football, guys. College football, we are getting some slightly better edges, I would say. We have some under rush and receiving touchdowns. It's really up to you guys if you like these. So Jalen Milroe for under his rush and receiving touchdowns, that's obviously going to be a good bet. That's a good EV bet that we have there. Lawton for under rushing receiving touchdowns as well. Both of them have an over 54%. So I really don't mind those ones. In terms of any bets for today, obviously people love targeting those. Really nothing too crazy. I mean, I'll probably get some action, guys, just fair disclosure. So I want to find some bets here. So honestly, I'll probably just run out this one for the over 7.5 kicking points. Kicking points are ugly though. I don't love that. And then just hoping that these two are pushes. So I'll probably just be running those two out as well. I'm not going to have that in the bet of the day. That's more for, occasionally I like to make bets that I think are fun. And that's what that's going to be. Those two right there. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and give you guys a bet of the day for Flex Friday on PrizePicks, and then I'll jump into some underdog bets as well. All right, guys, so looking at the bet of the day here, going to be going with those two under rushing receiving touchdowns there for college football. We also have another college football prop bet that I'm tossing in there as well. The reason I'm tossing that one in there is to stretch a 4-slip bet into a 5-slip flex bet. Obviously, we already are using this as a Flex Friday bet. That one is off by 4 compared to the average sportsbook line. The average sportsbook line would have that set at 49.5. So I feel pretty decent about that one. And then just going with those two MLB prop bets that are really popping up for us as well. So that will conclude it for the PrizePicks bets. Let's go ahead and jump into some underdog bets, because we are getting some payout boosts on underdog for today as well. And so let's take a peek at the board for today on underdog. A couple of decent ones here now as well. Jordan James for under his fantasy score on college football. Blake Groupie, this one's kind of being favored as a push for his under extra points made. We are seeing a decent amount of decent edges here on college football. That is typically normal, I would say, for underdog. They are just a little bit overvalued. These college football players are typically a little bit overvalued on underdog. So not terrible there. So let's go ahead and kind of go through the process again. We are trying to find some bets that we can use for the payout boost here. So yeah, we got Jordan James for under his fantasy score of 17.85. The average sportsbook line would have it set at 14.3. The projection data, however, has it set at 18.1. So don't exactly love that one as much. A better one would be Corey Kiner for under his fantasy score of 16.35. This one is just, much more even keel across the board, if you will, where the projection data is saying the under and the projection and the average sportsbook line, is saying the under as well. The outlier data point here is quite clearly the underdog line. Whereas we look at the Jordan James one, you would argue that the outlier there would be the average sportsbook line. Another decent one there would be DJ Giddens for under his fantasy score. So some decent ones there. Another one where we are seeing a decent prop line difference here on underdog is Kevin Coleman for over his receiving yards. So another decent one there. And then Will Rogers, another one where projection data kind of lays the over. That's probably the clear outlier there, but heavily favoring the under here for Will Rogers at his average sportsbook line of 15.97. So that is another seemingly decent bet that we have today in college football, or I guess that's for tomorrow, but all decent bets here for college football. Then jumping into some MLB here. MLB wise, not crazy edges, I would say. Really just nothing extremely noteworthy MLB wise. WNBA kind of more of the same there. Nothing too crazy. All about a 53% chance to hit, which is kind of what we saw with PrizePicks. So no need to go out of our way to target any of those. If any of those pop up to you guys, stand out to you guys, by all means, you can go for it. And then lastly, looking into the NFL, Antonio Gibson slightly for his rush received yards. That's nothing too crazy. David Montgomery for over rush receiving touchdowns. That's okay. But for the most part, it seems like the biggest edges that we are getting, at least as it sits right now for underdog, is going to be with those college football bets. So we're going to run those out here for the underdog bet of the day as well. And so here's what I'll be running out there for the underdog bet of the day here. We got Giddens for under his fantasy score of 17.75. That was one of the better edges that we have. Kevin Coleman for over his receiving yards. Again, we are seeing a decent prop line difference there. Let's target that one. And then Kiner for lower than his fantasy score there. Feel pretty good about that one. If you guys want to include Jordan James in there as well, you can. I mentioned, it's just the average sportsbook line is kind of the outlier data point there compared to the projection data and the average sportsbook line. College football is a little bit more difficult, I would say, for the sportsbooks to give accurate lines. Maybe it's a little bit due to the public and whatnot, but that is also going to be a bet that I'm running out today as well.